lovely. So let's crack on then, shall we? Because we have got a very busy show with lots to tell you. Okay, so it is live PMO news. I'm going to hand over to John, who's going to be sharing some of his PMO news. What's been happening, John? What have you got to share with us?
Well, it's been another busy month, and it's always a sort of challenge with these things, how sifting through the noise, because there's been bits of conferences and things and get-togethers, and you sort of look at them and go, well, what actually you can sort of go to these things and they can be interesting. And you look at what are the key takeaways, and I sort of sometimes struggle to say, well, actually, what was the big thing that came out of it? So I've sort of chopped a lot of that stuff out, trying to chop away the noise and leave you with the sort of key takeaways and a little bit of homework for you that hopefully gives you enough to go away and do some reading yourself. So I have decided to focus on two things, if I may. I have got a working paper that Oxford have published called the Uniqueness Bias, and I really want to highlight the project management journal for October, because it is, as you can probably just see there, special edition all about project management offices and organizational design. So let's dive into this this study first. So this is a working paper. It's something that's just out for discussion and exploration at the moment, but I read it and I loved it, and I highly recommend PMO people take some time and skim through this. So basically what they've done, they've ended up looking at 219 projects, and they've been looking at uniqueness bias. Now, for those of you who have heard me talk at things, you may have heard me in the past moan about the use of the word unique when we describe projects. I don't like it. I don't like that people have it in their definition of a project that it is a unique thing. And my main reason for not liking that is, well, as PMOs, what we're kind of looking to do is apply frameworks, apply structured ways of working, and actually take lessons from projects and apply those to the future to make sure we're continuously improving. If our projects are truly unique, then we'd be doing each one completely from the ground up, and we wouldn't ever be applying learning from the past. So I don't like the mindset that calling projects unique kind of has that comes with it. Anyway, what they've done here is they've taken these projects and they've very, very simply spoken to the project team and asked them to score on a sort of very, very simple 1 to 10 scale how unique they saw the perceived uniqueness of the project, basically. And then they've compared that with how the project has actually performed, and they've done a lot of sort of correlation. They've checked other correlations and things, and they found a very, very strong correlation with the perceived uniqueness of the project and underperformance. So whether it's late, over budget, and not deliver value, those kind of things. And they're seeing a strong correlation there, more so than other areas. That perceived uniqueness is basically correlating with projects underperforming, which then leads us to the obvious question: are these projects are these projects genuinely unique? Are they underperforming because they are genuinely unique? And they're going through this and actually saying, well, actually, a lot of these projects that we perceive as being highly unique are not actually highly unique because someone's done it before in the organization or elsewhere. Even when they talk about NASA going to the moon, they use examples that NASA defined, where they've said, actually, these aren't unique. We're using building blocks of things that we've done before. And whilst I do have a typo in there, clearly, basically what they're concluding is in this, and it is a working paper, so still obviously needs further work on it, but they're basically saying actually decision hygiene is a big factor in reducing this so-called uniqueness bias in projects, which such as using a reference class forecasting, something called pre-mortems, where you're sort of looking at the start of a project and imagining you're at the end. And rather than doing a post-mortem at the end of a project, at the beginning, say, well, let's imagine we've done this. What are the things that we would likely be talking about in a post-mortem that went wrong? Let's have a look at those things and see how we can tackle this. So those kind of things leading into effective decision-making. Similarity-based forecasting. So what has been done like this in the past that we can use to estimate, rather than using sort of purely Delphi and those kind of things. Where can we get that kind of information from? And the last one there is noise audits. People may or may not have come across those before, but it's another interesting one to look at in the context of portfolio project managers looking at your organizations, is basically looking at what estimates look like at the start of projects for how long they're going to take, and seeing where there's differences between different experts. So are you seeing big differences? If you've got your expert people in your PMO estimating how long projects take, are you seeing wide levels of difference between what everybody's estimating? We're seeing that as noise, and the goal is to try and see how we can get those more consistent. And we get those consistent by everyone understanding what their differences are, what their different thinking is, getting to a common understanding of some of the challenges, reducing the noise down. Now, that is quite different from saying our estimates are consistently under or our estimates are consistently over on things. That's not seen as noise because you've still got a pattern there. As long as those estimates are, if you know your estimates are always under, everyone's always optimistic, you can adjust for that in the PMO. You can say, okay, we're going to add 20% to the estimates that come out of engineering because we know they're always pessimistic, and we can add those things on. With noise, it's a lot harder because it's almost stochastic. You're seeing data points all over the place, and there's no obvious pattern between those estimates you're getting. So have a look around for those where you've got that noise and big differences in people's opinion on what their estimates are, and see how you can work to bring some normality to those, even if people are under or over. You're looking for consistency in there. So yeah, fascinating insight, and I really like the fact that they're openly challenging uniqueness bias, and something that I've been talking about for a while. They've actually put some research behind it, and are actually quantifying that people saying their projects are unique is correlated with those projects underperforming. So a good one, well worth reading and thinking about there. That one. The next one we've got. So project management journal. I find these hit and miss. There's some good stuff in there some months, there's some weak stuff the other times. I've mentioned a few articles from it in the past, but what I just wanted to highlight here is this is a special issue, thinking about thinking about PMOs and organizational design, and they've got a few things they sort of cover off here, thinking about different ways that PMOs can be run or defined. I'm thinking a lot about the interplays between obviously PMOs and project governance, but also looking at the PMO in the context of organizational design. Because as of those of us who work in a portfolio PMO know, the PMO is not a construct of project management. The PMO is a construct of the organization. So if you have a body of knowledge for how we do projects around here, for example, that sits underneath the PMO. The PMO owns the body of knowledge, the BOC, for how we do projects around here, because the PMO is the organizational function that oversees, assures, and governs projects, and sometimes, depending on your organization, actually then owns the delivery of those as well. So it's looking at the PMO through the lens of organizational design. And one of the things I quite like what they're saying here is actually, once you look at it from that point of view, you're not just looking at what the PMO can do to improve project delivery, but can we have impacts in other areas of the business as well? So this is a good one to look into on your lunch breaks. You don't need to be a PMI member to have a look at this online. The articles are there and downloadable. Three key ones that I like: it takes two to tango, the interactive effect of project portfolio management offices, and voice behavior on quality and business success. This is looking at taking the voice of the customer, how that correlates with the role the PMO has and what impact that has on delivery and quality. We've got large scale transformation projects and how they look at knowledge capture, which obviously is knowledge is an area where PMOs focus an awful lot. And then a question about the role that PMOs have beyond organizational boundaries, and asking if there's a gap there in terms of organizational design. And I'd say it's quite a lot. I know everybody at the moment in terms of development, day in, day out, everyone is saying that the next big ask from everybody is we need to be studying AI, or we need to be studying sort of prompting large language models, all these kind of. That seems to be where everybody wants their training at the moment. I would encourage PMO people, certainly those who are looking sort of in senior level enterprise PMOs, to actually start looking at organizational design as well, because it seems to be coming as PMOs have moved from this admin function to overseeing things. The PMOs that I'm talking about and that I'm talking to are very much interested in organizational design. And certainly as we have more agile projects, agile, certainly scaled agile, is a lot more about operational, how we operationalize project delivery. And you see, therefore, you need to have a greater understanding of organizational design as well. Good book on that one, which is ironic given that we often talk about the fact that we don't do the admin. We're not seen as an admin function anymore. But I'm just going to show you this one here. I've got blurred screen, so you can't see it. I'll share it as a link. It's called Administrative Behavior by Herbert A. Simon. But he's talking about the administration of organizations. It's a study of decision-making processes in administrative organizations. So it's looking at how you organize for effective decision making. None of it is new. It's a book that's been around for a very, very, very long time. But for me, this idea of organizational design kind of is moving away from these disparate models that we've been so focused on, our Scrum model, our Prince 2 model, and these kind of things, and actually looking at the wider organizational context as well. So those are my two things that I want to highlight from the news. The Project Management Journal, which has a lot of stuff in there about the PMO, that fantastic working report from Oxford about uniqueness is well worth a read, and something we should all be reminding our project managers that their stuff is not that unique and they should be learning from the past, and encourage you all to have a think about organizational design as something that certainly senior people, heads of enterprise PMOs might want to think about in terms of furthering their own development, as a change from all of the AI stuff that everyone else is encouraging you to do at the moment. And that's me. That's my sort of big bits of news roundup. I normally talk about things that are upcoming in the future. I've not done that here, mainly because the big thing coming up, I understand, is happening in Scotland, and I figured that might be something that Eileen and Lindsay would probably want to tell you about, because it's a House of PMO thing.
Yeah, I think there's something coming up in Edinburgh. But
I thought then.
thanks, John. Really fascinating. Thank you very much. I think there's going to be some stuff that we're all going to have to be checking out there. I think I'd put into the comments that if you are not already part of our LinkedIn group, that's where we put lots of little bits and pieces in there as well. But thank you, John. Let's move on.